The fork slipped from my fingers and clattered against the porcelain plate, a sharp, metallic sound that cut through the polished silence of my parents' dining room. Everyone turned to look at me. My sister Tara was smiling. "I'm sorry," Tara said, tilting her head with that practiced expression of concern she'd perfected over the years. "Did I say something wrong?" I stared at her across the table, across the arrangement of crystal glasses and the centerpiece of white orchids that probably cost more than my monthly office rent. My mother's hand hovered over her wine glass. My father had stopped cutting his steak mid-slice, the knife gleaming in the candlelight. $1, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "You want to buy my company for $1. Tara's smile widened, showing all her teeth. "Well, technically, it's a symbolic gesture, a buyout offer. I'm trying to help you, Evelyn. Your startup is hemorrhaging money, and we both know it. I have the infrastructure, the connections, the capital. Donovan Solutions could absorb your little project, and you could finally stop pretending to be something you're not." The words hit like physical blows. Little project, 5 years of 16-hour days, missed holidays, relationships that crumbled because I chose spreadsheets over dinner dates. 5 years of believing that if I just worked hard enough, smart enough, I could build something that mattered, something that was mine. My mother laughed, a light, tinkling sound that made my stomach turn. "Oh, Tara, you're terrible." But she was looking at me when she said it, and her eyes held no warmth. "Though I suppose it's a generous offer, considering the circumstances." "What circumstances?" My voice cracked. My father finally spoke, setting down his utensils with deliberate precision. "Evelyn, your sister is being kind. We've all seen the numbers. You've been burning through your savings for months. Your client list is—" He paused, searching for the word. "Diminishing. 3 clients left this quarter alone," Tara added helpfully. She reached for her wine, swirling it in the glass like she was savoring a fine vintage, and not my humiliation. "I heard Meridian Tech pulled their contract last week. That must have hurt." It had hurt. It had felt like drowning. But how did she know? I hadn't told anyone yet. The email from Meridian's CEO arrived at 3 a.m., and I'd read it alone in my apartment, the blue light of my laptop screen painting shadows across the walls. "We've decided to go in a different direction. Standard corporate speak for, you're not good enough." "How do you know about Meridian?" I asked. Tara shrugged, all innocence. "The business community is smaller than you think. People talk." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to defend me, to tell Tara she was being cruel, to remind her that we were family. But my mother was checking her phone, and my father had returned to his steak, cutting precise, even pieces. "I need to go," I said, standing so abruptly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "Don't be dramatic," my mother said, without looking up. "Sit down and finish your meal." But I was already moving. Grabbing my purse from the side table, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped my keys. Behind me, I heard Tara's voice, bright and cheerful. "Think about it, Evie. The offer stands. $1 and all your problems go away." I drove home through streets blurred by tears I refused to shed. Not yet. Not where anyone could see. The office was dark when I arrived the next morning at 5 a.m. I'd stopped going home altogether some nights, sleeping on the couch in my private office, showering at the gym down the street. The building was one of those converted warehouses in the industrial district, all exposed brick and ductwork, the kind of place that looked edgy in startup promotional materials, but was actually just drafty and smelled faintly of mildew. I made coffee in the small kitchenette, the machine grinding beans with a sound like gravel in a blender. While I waited, I pulled up my email. 43 new messages. I scanned the subject lines, looking for anything urgent, and felt my heart stop. Contract termination, Horizon Analytics. My last client. My biggest client. The contract that had been keeping the lights on. My hands were steady as I opened the email. That surprised me. I'd thought I'd shake or cry or scream. Instead, I felt cold, analytical, like I was reading about someone else's failure. Dear Ms. Donovan, after careful consideration, Horizon Analytics has decided to terminate our contract with Donovan Solutions effective immediately. While we appreciate the work you've done, we've found a partner whose services better align with our strategic objectives. I stopped reading. I knew the rest. Corporate apologies, assurances that it wasn't personal, best wishes for future endeavors. The same language Meridian had used, the same phrasing 3 other clients had employed over the past 6 months. A partner whose services better align with our strategic objectives. I pulled up the previous termination emails, arranging them side by side on my screen. The language was nearly identical. Not just similar, identical. The same phrases, the same structure, even the same awkward comma splice in the second paragraph. Someone had sent these companies a template. I opened a new tab and pulled up Tara's company website, Donovan Solutions. She'd even stolen the name from our family, claiming it first, faster, smarter. Her client list loaded on the screen, and I scrolled through it slowly. Meridian Tech, acquired 3 weeks ago. Quantum Dynamics, acquired 6 weeks ago. Silvercrest Financial, acquired 2 months ago. Every client I'd lost in the past 6 months was now working with my sister. The coffee maker beeped, announcing that my coffee was ready, but I didn't move. I sat in my chair, in my dark office, in my failing company, and I finally understood. This wasn't bad luck. This wasn't market forces or natural client attrition. This was sabotage. I spent the next week like a ghost in my own life. I went through the motions, answered emails, attended meetings that no longer mattered, smiled at my assistant Marcus when he brought me printouts and asked if I was okay. I'm fine, I told him, just tired. But at night, alone, I worked. I pulled bank statements, contract files, email records. I created spreadsheets tracking every client interaction, every pitch meeting, every proposal. I mapped out the timeline of client departures and cross-referenced them with my sister's company announcements. The pattern was clear. Tara had been systematically poaching my clients for 6 months, probably longer. But how? How had she known who to target? How had she known the exact moment to approach them, when they'd be most vulnerable to offers from a larger firm? I thought about our family dinners, the casual questions Tara would ask. How's business? Any exciting new projects? Who are you working with these days? Questions I'd answered because she was my sister, because I'd trusted her, because I'd been stupid. No, not stupid, human. I'd been human and she'd weaponized it. On Thursday afternoon, Marcus knocked on my office door. His face was pale. There's someone here to see you. Your sister. I didn't invite her in. I met her in the lobby, on my territory, on my terms. Tara looked perfect, as always. Silk blouse, tailored pants, shoes that probably cost more than my car payment. She was carrying a leather portfolio, and her smile was sympathetic. Evelyn, she said, I'm glad you're here. I was worried you might be avoiding me. What do you want? She sighed. I was being difficult. I want to help you. I heard about Horizon. That must have been devastating. How did you hear? Evie, please. You know how this industry works. Word travels fast. She held out the portfolio. I've brought the papers for the buyout. You don't have to make a decision today, but I want you to have them. Look them over, talk to a lawyer if you want. But please, consider it. You've worked so hard and I hate seeing you suffer. I took the portfolio, not because I wanted it, but because I wanted her to leave. $1 for 5 years of my life. For peace of mind, she corrected gently. For a way out. For the chance to do something else, something that actually makes you happy. You were never meant for this, Evie. You're not built for business. You're too soft, too emotional, but that's okay. Not everyone has to be a CEO. She touched my arm, a brief, condescending pat, and then she was gone, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive perfume and the leather portfolio in my hands. I went back to my office and opened it. The contract was 40 pages long, dense with legal language, but the core was simple. I would sell Donovan Solutions to Tara for $1. All assets, all intellectual property, all client relationships. In exchange, she would pay off my business debts and give me a year's salary as a transition consultant. I would essentially become her employee, in my own company, with my own name on it. At the bottom of the contract, there was a post-it note in Tara's handwriting. Think of this as a fresh start. Love, T. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. James Chen had handled my business incorporation 5 years ago, and he'd been my attorney ever since. He was expensive, but he was good. And, more importantly, he was discreet. I need to see you, I told him, today. And James, I need you to not tell anyone about this meeting. Not your secretary, not your partners, no one. That sounds ominous, he said. But I could hear him typing in the background. I have an opening at 7, after hours. Come to the back entrance. His office was in one of the glass towers downtown, the kind of building with security guards and marble floors. I followed his instructions, entering through the parking garage and taking the service elevator to the 15th floor. James was waiting in his office, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. Right, he said as I sat down. What's this about? I told him everything. The family dinner, the client losses, the identical termination emails, Tara's buyout offer. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Do you have proof? He asked, finally. Proof that your sisters sabotaged your business? I have patterns, timelines, circumstantial evidence. That won't hold up in court. I don't want to go to court. I want to protect what's left. James leaned back in his chair, studying me. What exactly are you asking me to do, Evelyn? I want to restructure. I want to move my assets somewhere she can't touch them. I want to make it so that even if my current company fails, I still have something, a foundation, a chance to start over. That's going to be complicated. I don't care. Can you do it? He smiled, a small, sharp expression. Give me a week. What James created was beautiful in its complexity. He set up a new LLC, Nightingale Strategic Services, registered in Delaware with me as the sole owner. Then he began the careful process of transferring assets, the proprietary software I'd developed, licensed to Nightingale, with Donovan Solutions paying a monthly fee for its use. The intellectual property, the methodologies, the training materials, all transferred to Nightingale with appropriate legal documentation. My best equipment? Sold to Nightingale at market value, with Donovan Solutions leasing it back. On paper, Donovan Solutions was becoming a shell, a name and a lease agreement, and not much else. Everything valuable was migrating to Nightingale, where Tara couldn't touch it. This is going to take time, James warned me. And it's going to cost money you probably don't have. I'll find it, I said. I liquidated my retirement account. I sold my car and started taking the bus. I moved out of my apartment and into a studio half the size. Every dollar I saved went to James's fees and the restructuring process. Marcus noticed. Are you okay? He asked one morning, finding me eating ramen for the 3rd day in a row. You look tired. I'm fine, I lied, just cutting costs. I couldn't tell him the truth. Couldn't risk anyone knowing what I was doing, not even my loyal assistant. If word got back to Tara, if she found out I was moving assets, protecting myself, she'd accelerate her timeline. She'd find a way to stop me. So I smiled and ate my ramen and kept working. The confrontation came 6 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning. I was in my office, reviewing the final paperwork for Nightingale, when Marcus buzzed me. Your family is here, he said, and his voice was strange, scared. All 3 of them came through the door. Tara, my mother, my father. They looked like an invading force, perfectly coordinated, perfectly united. We need to talk, my father said. He wasn't asking. I stood up slowly, deliberately. About what? Tara set her purse on my desk, a power move, claiming space. It's been 6 weeks, Evelyn.
That's more than enough time to make a decision. I decided. The answer is no. My mother made an exasperated sound. Don't be childish. This is a business decision, not a personal attack. Funny, I said. It feels pretty personal. Evelyn, my father's voice was sharp. You're being unreasonable. Your sister is offering you a lifeline, and you're too proud to take it. Do you want to end up bankrupt? Do you want to destroy your credit, your reputation, everything you've built? What I've built? I repeated. That's interesting phrasing, Dad. What exactly have I built? According to you, according to Tara, I've built nothing. A failed company, a little project, something worth exactly $1. That's not, Tara started, but I cut her off. How did you do it? How did you steal my clients? Did you hack my email? Did you plant someone in my office? Or did I just make it easy for you, telling you everything at family dinners like an idiot? The silence was confirmation enough. Oh, Evie, Tara said softly, this isn't about stealing. Business is competitive. If your clients chose to work with me instead, that's because I offered them something better, something you couldn't provide.
Forged letters, I said, templates telling them to terminate their contracts, identical language across 4 different companies. That's not competition, Tara, that's fraud. My father's expression darkened. Be very careful what you're accusing your sister of. I'm not accusing, I'm stating facts. And here's another fact. You're not getting my company, not for $1, not for any amount, because there's nothing left to get. What are you talking about? Tara asked, and for the first time, I heard uncertainty in her voice. I pulled out a folder. James had prepared it for me, knowing this moment would come, and slid it across the desk. Donovan Solutions is effectively worthless, I said. All the assets you wanted, the software, the IP, the client data, it's been transferred to a new entity, one you don't know about, one you can't touch. You can buy my company for $1 if you want, Tara, but all you'll get is a name and an empty office. My mother snatched the folder, flipping through the pages. Her face went white, then red. You transferred everything, you little... I protected myself, I said, the way you should have taught me to, the way family is supposed to protect family. This is illegal, my father said. You can't just... It's completely legal. I had a lawyer review every document. Everything was done properly, with appropriate valuations and transfer agreements. You're welcome to have your own lawyers check. They'll tell you the same thing. Tara was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. You did this, she said slowly. You actually did this. I learned from the best, I told her. You wanted to take everything from me, so I made sure there was nothing to take. Congratulations, sis. You played yourself. You vindictive little bitch, my mother hissed. No, I said quietly. I'm not vindictive. If I were vindictive, I'd already have filed lawsuits. I'd have gone to every one of your clients and shown them evidence that you forged communications from their vendors. I'd have destroyed your reputation the way you tried to destroy mine. But I didn't do that. I just protected myself. And you know what? That's more than you deserved. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in my life, he had nothing to say. Get out of my office, I said. They left. Tara paused in the doorway, looking back at me. This isn't over. Yes, I told her. It is. The conference was Marcus's idea. You need to go public with this, he said. Not the family drama, the business strategy. Show people what you did. Show them you're a survivor, not a victim. The Tech Innovation Summit was being held downtown, and I'd been invited to speak months ago, back when I still had clients and hope. I'd planned to cancel, but Marcus convinced me otherwise. This is your chance, he insisted. Tell your story. Not all of it, but enough. Let people see what you're capable of. So I wrote a speech. I practiced it in my empty office, in my tiny studio apartment, in the bathroom mirror at the gym. I practiced until the words felt real, until I could say them without my voice breaking. The conference center was huge, all glass and steel and soaring ceilings. I stood backstage listening to the moderator introduce me, entrepreneur, founder, innovator, and thought about walking away, running, disappearing.
But then I heard my name, and somehow my legs were carrying me onto the stage, into the lights, in front of 300 people who were all looking at me, waiting. My name is Evelyn Donovan, and 6 months ago, someone tried to destroy my company. The room went quiet. I'm not going to name names. This isn't about revenge. This is about resilience, about what you do when everything you've built is being systematically dismantled, when clients disappear overnight, when contracts are terminated with identical language, when you realize someone close to you has been sabotaging your success. I told them about the restructuring, about creating Nightingale, about moving assets, about protecting the core of what I'd built while letting the shell crumble. I talked about the legal strategies, the financial planning, the sleepless nights. Some people will tell you that business isn't personal. They're wrong. Business is always personal. Every company is built by human beings with human emotions and human vulnerabilities. And when someone tries to exploit those vulnerabilities, when they weaponize your trust, your relationships, your love, that's personal. I showed them slides, timelines, patterns. I didn't name Tara, but anyone who knew our industry could probably figure it out. I'm standing here today because I made a choice. I chose to protect myself instead of trusting that fairness would prevail. I chose action over hope. And yes, it cost me. It cost me relationships, money, sleep. It cost me the naive belief that working hard and playing fair was enough. But it also saved me. And now I'm here to tell you, if you're in a situation like mine, you don't have to be a victim. You can fight back. You can protect what's yours. You can survive. When I finished, there was silence. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. Then the whole room was on its feet, and I was standing there in the lights, trying not to cry. Afterward, people approached me. Investors, potential clients, other entrepreneurs who'd faced similar situations. A woman in her 50s shook my hand. "That took courage," she said. "Thank you for speaking up." A younger man asked for my contact information. "We're looking for someone to handle our data security, someone who understands risk management. I think you might be perfect." By the end of the evening, I had 15 business cards and 3 concrete leads. Marcus found me in the lobby afterward, grinning. "You did it," he said. "You actually did it." "We did it," I corrected. "I couldn't have survived this without you." "So what now?" he asked. I looked out at the city lights, at the streets I'd driven through crying 6 months ago, at the world that suddenly felt full of possibility again. "Now we rebuild," I said, "on our terms, with our rules." Donovan Solutions officially filed for bankruptcy 3 months later. The name I'd fought so hard to establish, the brand I'd tried to build, I let it die. There was a strange peace in that, cutting off a limb that had turned gangrenous. It hurt, but it was necessary. Nightingale Strategic Services took its place. The clients who'd approached me after the conference became my foundation. They weren't looking for the cheapest option or the biggest firm. They were looking for someone who understood struggle, who'd proven they could survive, who wouldn't crumble at the first sign of trouble. I was that person now. Tara called me once, 3 weeks after the bankruptcy filing. I saw her name on my phone and almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "What?" I asked. "I wanted to see how you were doing." Her voice was careful, measured. "I'm fine. I heard about Nightingale. Congratulations." "Thank you." There was a long pause. Then, "Evie, I never meant for things to go this far. I thought I was helping. I thought if you failed quickly, you could move on, find something you were better suited for. I didn't realize I'd fight back." I finished. "You thought I'd just accept it, collapse quietly, let you win. That's not goodbye, Tara." I hung up. She didn't call again. My parents sent a Christmas card that year. Generic, impersonal, the kind you send to distant acquaintances. I put it in the recycling bin without opening it. Some relationships aren't worth saving. Some families aren't worth fighting for. I'd spent years trying to earn their respect, their approval, their love. Now I was spending my energy on people who actually valued me. It was a better investment. 1 year after the conference, Nightingale had 23 clients and 8 employees. We'd moved into a real office, still modest, but clean and bright, with windows that actually opened and a kitchen that didn't smell like mildew. Marcus was my director of operations now, with a salary that reflected his worth. I was in my office late one evening, reviewing proposals, when I heard a knock. "Come in," I called, expecting Marcus. But it was a woman I didn't know. Mid-40s, professional, but tired-looking, carrying a laptop bag. "Ms. Donovan?" she said. "I'm Sarah Chen. I don't have an appointment, but I was hoping you might have a few minutes." "For?" "Advice." She sat down without waiting for an invitation, and I recognized the look in her eyes. Desperation, determination. The look I'd seen in my own mirror a year ago. "My business partner is trying to force me out," she said. "We started the company together 10 years ago, but now she's claiming I've been embezzling funds, which is insane, because I haven't, but she's hired lawyers and frozen our accounts, and I don't know what to do." I should have been annoyed by the intrusion. Instead, I found myself leaning forward. "Tell me everything," I said. We talked for 2 hours. I gave her James Chin's contact information. I explained how to document everything, how to protect her assets, how to prepare for the fight ahead. When she left, she was crying, but they were tears of relief. "Thank you," she said at the door. "I thought I was alone. I thought I was crazy." "You're not crazy," I told her. "You're just up against someone who underestimated you. Use that." After she left, I sat in my office and thought about the woman I'd been a year ago. The one who'd driven home crying, who'd eaten ramen for weeks, who'd almost given up. I thought about the woman I was now. They weren't the same person. The old Evelyn had believed that fairness mattered, that family meant something, that working hard was enough. The new Evelyn knew better. Knew that sometimes you have to protect yourself, even from the people who are supposed to love you. Knew that survival isn't pretty or noble. It's messy and expensive and lonely, but it's worth it.
Because on the other side of survival is this: a company that's mine, built on terms I chose, filled with people who respect me. A life that's smaller than I had imagined, but more solid, more real. I pulled out my phone and looked at the photo I'd taken at the conference. Me on stage, mid-speech, caught in the lights. I looked terrified in that photo, but I also looked alive. I made it my screensaver. 2 years after the dinner, the one where Tara had offered me $1 for my dreams, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was simple: "Thank you." I almost deleted it. I got spam constantly, messages from people wanting money or connections or favors, but something made me open it. "Miss Donovan, you don't know me, but I heard you speak at the Tech Innovation Summit 2 years ago. At the time, I was considering leaving the startup I'd founded. I'd lost hope. Your speech changed my mind. I wanted you to know that we just closed a Series B funding round, $20 million. We're hiring, we're growing, and none of it would have happened if you hadn't shared your story. So thank you. Thank you for being honest about the hard parts. Thank you for not pretending it was easy. Thank you for showing us that failure isn't the end. With gratitude, Jennifer Martinez." I read it 3 times. Then I saved it in a folder I'd created called Reasons. Marcus found me wiping my eyes a few minutes later. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, I'm okay." And I was. Not because the journey had been easy or because I'd won in any traditional sense. I hadn't defeated Tara, hadn't gotten an apology from my parents, hadn't rebuilt Donovan Solutions into the empire I'd once dreamed of. But I'd built something better, a company I controlled, a company I protected, a self I could respect. The old Evelyn would have thought that wasn't enough, would have mourned the relationships lost, the dreams abandoned, the innocence destroyed. The new Evelyn knew better. Sometimes the only way forward is through the fire, and sometimes the person who emerges on the other side is someone you don't recognize. Harder, colder, more careful, but also stronger, wiser, free. I closed my laptop and looked out the window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my sister was probably working late in her own office. My parents were probably having dinner at their polished table. They were living their lives, and I was living mine. And the distance between us was a gift I'd given myself. The gift of letting go, the gift of moving forward, the gift of choosing, finally and irrevocably, myself. I didn't forgive them. I didn't forget. But I also didn't let them define me anymore. That was my victory. Small, quiet, personal. And it was enough.